Lately, I've reached a strange place of radical acceptance. And I say it's strange because when you are on the spiritual awakening journey or identify as a manifester, and your eyes start to open to the beauty of creation and the ability to influence change in your life directly and indirectly by letting the universe's will flow through you in an indirect way, or by stepping into your active masculine, not gender specific, but your get things done mentality. And when you get a taste of that and you realize that you don't have to do everything and manipulate things with your three-dimensional hands, you can actually think things into existence. You can actually wish and dream and hope, and with not too much attachment, of course, and shift your way, vibrationally speaking, and using other measures to reality constructs that you find more pleasing. And as a result, myself included, there is a tendency to become somewhat delusional. And people on the spiritual awakening journey, particularly those that are proponents of manifestation teachings, will actually encourage people to become delusional. And there is some element of that I agree with, but in practice, I find that being balanced and centered and agile, with understanding that the feedback that you're getting from the resonance of the reality may not be in accordance with what you are aiming to anchor into. And you don't want to be blind and to try to anchor into every reality layer just because it comes to you first or second or third. You want to be discerning. And when people preach radical, delusional thinking, what happens is that it bypasses the critical thinking part of the mind, the assessor, the judger. And judgment allows you to decide if something is for you. It's actually a very important part of the reality selection process. Does this vibe? Does it work? Why or why not? And that is part of standing at the buffet that Abraham Hicks talks about. And understanding which food you want to put on your plate. You don't want to put everything on your plate unless you literally have no preferences, in which case you probably have no luck, I was going to say, but business is probably better. Let's be a little judgmental. If you literally have no preferences, you probably should not be designing realities, because what's the purpose of designing it? You'll take anything. You'll live in anything. Of course you have preferences. There's nothing wrong with having preferences. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to sample certain things in the lineup and not others. And to do so, we have to have the ability to discern and to say no. And to be able to discern and say no, we have to be able to judge. So, being delusional takes away our ability to do exactly that, because it shifts us into the, everything's fine, even when reality is not agreeing with us. Oh, it's going to work out. It's fine. I got a team of angels on it. I'm just going to pray and manifest. And there's nothing wrong with this method. It actually works sometimes. And then other times, particularly if you are on the discernment part of your spiritual awakening journey, and perhaps others, but especially on the discernment part, the universe is going to smile as you flounder. Because when you are mastering discernment, you're supposed to say no. You are supposed to reject. You are supposed to set boundaries. You're supposed to walk away. You're not supposed to accept everything. That's what the discernment lesson is about. Understanding what to accept, who to bring close, and who not. Now, for those who are not on the discernment part of their journey, this next part may not apply. Being radically accepting allows you to look reality in the eyes and to say, okay, I see you. Now what? And it's this now what position that you want to be in, because this allows you to actually take action in accordance with where you need to go. And because I am coming out of the discernment part of my spiritual awakening journey, I find this to be a very, very interesting phase, because the way I see things now has shifted. Whereas before, I was always like, well, everything's going to work out. It's going to be fine. It doesn't matter. Or, in contrast, I would want to control everything and manifest on top of what the world and the universe was presenting to me and what I had previously created and what others had created for me on my behalf, sometimes without my consent. But it's been a wild ride. And sometimes to my benefit as well, but that's neither here nor there. I just want to give credit where credit is due. So when you are facing reality versus denying reality, or when you are facing reality versus when you are ignoring it and trying to write on top of it, see, it's a spectrum. When you're in the middle point of radical acceptance, you can see it for what it is and say, okay, now what am I going to do? And it's such a different position where your line of sight is looking past the point of no return, past the point that you had seen before, past the point that cannot be fixed in any sort of awareness of what should be done. It is almost as though you're looking into the face of a sentient being that's looking back at you. But this sentient being happens to be the form of a world, of an environment, almost as though you're sharing the space of the threshold and you are honoring it and everything that it brings to you, versus in the other two examples, you're almost looking past it. You don't see the consciousness in it. It's almost like you're operating from the position that your view of things is the only view of things. And there is no room for a co-creation. It's in the first example where we are denying reality. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. It's like we're not even seeing it. We're skipping over it. And there could be a lesson or a gift there. It could also not be in our highest interest to do so. It could be that where we're supposed to be is anchored into a reality that we don't think we're supposed to be anchored into, that isn't in our manifestation wish journal. And on the other side of the spectrum, it's almost like saying, yeah, I see what's here, and we're going to just renovate everything. Yeah, we're just going to, it doesn't matter. It's dismissive. And so when you step into radical acceptance, it's almost as though you are presenting your consciousness to the world, to the universe, however you want to think of it. And you are allowing the consciousness of source, of the world, to be present with you. And to say, okay, this is not what I intended. Let me do a little mindset check here, because it looks like I ended up someplace that I'm not quite sure about. Let's explore it for a moment. Let's be curious. And when you do that, what I'm observing is that really strange, miraculous things can happen. Really pleasant, miraculous things if you are actually on board with going with the journey and allowing things to progress that's outside of your control, where you're not trying to change anything. You're letting things really actually unfold the way that they naturally want to unfold. And you're saying, I'm along for the ride. Okay, what have you got? What have you got today? You're captaining the ship today, and then I'm going to captain it on Wednesday. So it creates this interlooping dance. The opportunity is, at least, where you can create, but you're not over-creating. You can respond, but you're not overdoing your responses. And you're also not ignoring. And there's something beautiful about letting higher intelligences shift you to better timelines and outcomes than you could possibly think for yourself. And for example, if at the beginning of your journey, somebody sat you down and was like, okay, we're going to send you here. And the problem is that here is not going to look like there at first. Because where you want to go to there. Because of this feeling, this idea, this fantasy in your mind of what you want to create. And we know that actually this other route is better in a lot of different ways. But at first, it's not going to look like that. What would you say? I know for me, I would say, if I trusted, and I do trust, but there have been times in my journey where I haven't really trusted. And so if somebody set me down and said, I've got a plan for you. I know you've got a plan for yourself, but I've got a better one. The only thing is that when you're going through it, you're going to doubt. I would probably still sign up for it. Probably. Depending on my level of maturity. And so this is what radical acceptance is like. Is actually understanding that things may not make sense, but there's this deep trust inside that whatever's unfolding is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And you don't have to overwork it. And you don't have to pretend like it makes sense. Because sometimes it actually doesn't. And you're like, I don't get it. Like, I'm in a place right now where every, 4 days in a row or so, there is no moon. There's no moon in the sky. I can't figure it out. It doesn't make sense. It kind of weirds me out. And then all of a sudden it's like somebody turns on the LED moon or whatever happens, or I shift into another world and it's there. And then it goes away again for several days in a row. And sometimes it'll be in different positions in the sky that don't make sense when it is on. And I don't know if anybody else sees it, but it's kind of one of these very strange occurrences that if somebody told me at the beginning that I would be in a place where unexplainable things would happen like that are deeply unnerving and unsettling, I would probably not understand it. But I'm not sure I would sign up for it necessarily, but I probably wouldn't outright reject it. But now I find myself in this position where I'm in radical acceptance. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't make sense. But the last I checked, there's a ceasefire being called. And World War III might be canceled. So I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that there might not be a moon where I'm at. And there's enough light pollution that we don't need it anyway. But it does make me appreciate it when I do see it. And I see on TikTok that other people are seeing strange things with the sun. It's so weird. The sun that I have is normal. It's not at all like the white light that people are talking about. In fact, today was outside at sunset, appreciating the beautiful, long, yellow rays that were kissing the blades of grass, the hummingbirds chirping in the background, and feeling just very at ease with nature and where I was at. And there are some people that are not feeling at ease. I can't explain it. I don't fully understand it. I do believe that there is a framework of reality shifting where people are experiencing different worlds and dimensions, but it's kind of a niche topic. And I think it might be better if it stays as a niche topic. For reasons that I won't get into here, but have to do with levels of maturity and awakening and honesty and conscientiousness. I do believe that it should be a privilege, and I don't believe that it should be unlocked for everybody. So this is what I mean, that if I was a reality denier, and this is kind of an odd example to use this, but I might miss something significant about the fact that I'm in a place where there's not a moon the majority of the time. I might miss something special about that world that's trying to open up to me. And if I was so firmly attached to getting back to where things were made right and where things were in order, I might actually be in a worse position. Because, I don't know, maybe World War III is still happening there. And maybe things are going down there that I don't want to be privy to. I don't know. And so this is what I mean about how we approach our creations and our co-creations and the level of room that we have to enable other conscious beings or the universe or source or whomever to co-create with us and to invite us into their worlds, which may be different than what we're expecting. And it may not be something that we intended on going. I guarantee you in my manifestation book, there is not anything about a world that doesn't have a moon. You know what I mean? But I somehow found myself here. Does that mean that something is broken? No. Does that mean that something intriguing could be happening? Yes. And I love intrigue. I love magic and mystery and joy and wonder. And you know what? Those things are written in my manifestation book. Actually, breaking out of a monotonous world where magical, strange things could happen that are joyful and interesting. That actually is written, I think, a couple times in my manifestation book. All of this is to make light of the fact that the reality appears to be that we're not in control. Not really. We have a say, and we definitely influence things, but there is an element to this manifestation process that sometimes I feel, if I'm just speaking honestly here, sometimes I feel like we're at the kids' table. And if you've ever had like Thanksgiving or holidays where there's an adults table and a kids table, the kids table is where all the kids are set off so they don't ruin dinner. And no, it's so they have a place where they can act up and they can be kids and not disturb the adults. Meanwhile, the adults are having a very boring conversation or very interesting conversation, depending on your family, of course. And there's this divide. And sometimes when it comes to a creation, a system, I feel like we are the kids. And our capacity for understanding things is really, really limited. And I really get the sense that there are those that have gone before us that are much more wise and mature. And of course, at some point of consciousness, there is no separation, right? But I'm talking about the level of sentience and consciousness and awareness where you are in an embodied form. And you are an awakened being, but you're operating from the physical presence and being confined to a space-time. And there's a certain degree of intellect and understanding and education and experience that comes with that you don't have an all-access pass to what the source does. And so from that position, it feels like we're the small kids on the block and we're just kind of waking up. And as a result, I feel like there's a little bit of hand-holding, but I also feel like there's a parent around that's like, yeah, I know you want that, but I can't have that. It's not good for you. Yep, I know, but you really need to be over here because your path of maturation, I know you think it should be here, but I'm telling you it's actually over here for reasons that you'll thank me later. And it turns out that actually happens. It's like, oh my God, thank you. I see it now from your perspective. And whoever's captaining that ship, thank God for their patience and their mentorship. But it's interesting because it makes me wonder, if we're not in control, are they in control? Or is it almost like levels and tiers of those who have gone before? And like you hear about the fact that humans have actually advanced, quite a bit. Like eons into the future, lifelines into the future, and have actually come back and made contact with humans that exist today. Time traveling, interdimensionally traveling. And it's not widely discussed, but I've seen some compelling interviews of people who have had contact, and I myself have had contact. But my contact was different and showed up differently. And so it's curious because when we radically accept and we don't fight what is trying to come to our doors, we have the ability to accept packages, like Amazon packages, but maybe it's not Amazon, maybe it's a different company, from other timelines and other dimensions, from those more advanced than us and more aware and cognizant. And so if we step out of our position of consciousness that is stuck in our what we've always ever known, and our point of awareness, which is very centered on our identity and the roles that we're playing in our everyday life and how we're going to manifest this and that for ourselves, if we actually just open up to the mysterious and don't deny and don't try to over control, we step into a potentially beautiful existence. This is where I'm at today.